Hello, welcome to Getting Real with Andrew Cohen. We have a great show for you today. I am Andrew Cohen, your host. This is my podcast. We have a great show today. Today on the show, we have Jacqueline Boothe here. Jacqueline Boothe is an American composer who is currently now in New Zealand, and it was great talking to her. She's a lot of insight into the music world. We talk a lot about the music world, and it's amazing to talk to composers or just musicians in general, because I play trumpet and guitar, so it's great being able to talk to other musicians and be able to share experiences and know what these people are kind of talking about, which is nice. So how's everybody doing? It's been sorry we didn't have an episode last week because I didn't have an interview, so that might happen from time to time. I might, miss a couple weeks because I don't have an interview there or something like that. But, it's good. It's a great, it's great when we get an interview, and that's when we post a new episode. And we have a new interview today. So yesterday, actually, this was recorded yesterday, and it was very nice, because yesterday was also my mom's birthday. So happy birthday to my mother. I designed a James Bond cake. I'm not kidding. We got a cake, and it says James Bond on it. So that's always very nice. And she was so surprised, and it was amazing. I played the theme, the ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba, that one. And she was very surprised, so it was very nice having that yesterday. And I don't know if you can tell, but I have a cold right now, and I had to do the interview with a cold. I was sipping some orange spice tea with honey in it, because apparently that helps, and it did help, and it was very good. And I got through the interview without sneezing or sniffling. But that it went very nice. The interview was nice. I highly recommend you listen to it because, well, you just should. She's a very good example of somebody who is very successful, and also she was in New Zealand when we did this. She's from Virginia, which you'll see, and then she's now in New Zealand, and it was kind of weird because it was strangely a really good connection, because even if it was in New Zealand, and that was really incredible. And we talk a lot about New Zealand and her experience there, and also I learned this, and you'll hear this in the interview, but I learned that new people from New Zealand are actually called Kiwis. I didn't know that. That's like a fruit in America, and I don't know. We can't stop laughing about that in the conversation, and that was a big highlight of it. But yeah, I had a big argument with my dad last night. That was it was kind of strange. So he does this thing from time to time where he flips out. He gets all crazy. He gets very Hulk-like. I mean, imagine exactly how the Hulk would be, and that's basically him sometimes. And I lost a lot of respect for him because, I think you can get that way, but it was what he got that way over. Okay, I had to, I was editing this podcast episode last night, and I had to tell him, I was like, sorry, I had to do that. He's like, but you had to go take a shower. We said to go take a shower. And then I was like, yeah, but I'm sorry I do that. And then he starts like, are you fucking kidding me? Take a goddamn shower. When we ask you to go take a shower, we ask you to take a fucking shower. That's exactly what he said. And it was, I lost a lot of respect for him because, that tells me he's a man, he can't control his emotions. I never got that way. We were in, both parallel situations, except, it was he was yelling at me about my priority, and I was telling him about my priority. Yet he was the one who started swearing and getting out of control. And you know what happens? We didn't have this conversation because I didn't go to school today. But what usually will happen is we'll go in the car. He's like, "Do you understand why I got that way?" And yeah, I completely understand why I got that way. It doesn't matter how you got that way, but you shouldn't get that way. That means, you know what he should do? If he's going to get that way, he should just walk out. Just walk out of the conversation. We can both know, okay, that means he's, getting that way. And that means, that should be the solution. You shouldn't have to get to that point where you're yelling at me. And I'm like, yeah, and I know I'm selfish sometimes. I have selfish tendencies. I have selfish tendencies that I put my own project before the other people in my family. But I recognize that about myself. But I think his yelling overrules my selfish tendencies. Sorry, one sec. No, I was just sniffling. I wasn't starting to cry. I was just sniffling this stupid cold. But anyways, besides that, everything's going well. I hope everything's going well for you guys. Please listen to the interview. It was a great interview. So, yeah, here we are. This is my conversation with Jacqueline Boothe.
Ace Podcast.
Hi, Jacqueline. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Andrew. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, too. It was interesting, trying to do research for this, and I found online that I guess what inspired you to go into composing was the movie Spirit.
Yes, absolutely. That is a good film. Really, really underrated, and it's not known about, but it's a really good children's film.
Yeah, and yeah. That was one of my favorite films too, which was I found that kind of funny. I love. Really? Oh my god, I love Spirit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I yeah, and like I guess I could also see probably Hans Zimmer was a big influence on your career.
Absolutely, yeah. He's definitely the main inspiration, because ever since I was a kid, his music was really just prevalent in like my house. I mean, from Lion King and Spirit, when I was really little, and then growing up, you had a bunch of his more epic action films and stuff. But yeah,
so I'm guessing you're a fan of all his the Christopher Nolan movies. Oh, yeah. Whenever he does. Which one's your favorite?
Man. It's between Inception and probably The Dark Knight, I'd say. Yeah, it's...
Mm-hmm. I can, yeah. I can tell because, I was listening to some of your music earlier, and, the song Rest.
Okay,
and it reminded me a bit of, the Inception soundtrack.
Really?
It did, yeah. It did that, I forget how it goes. I know it goes bum, ba 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 ba, something like that.
Nice. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of soundtracks, so that's why it was really nice getting this.
Soundtracks are the best.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite? Who are your favorite composers? Who do you like?
Definitely Hans Zimmer's up there. Mm-hmm. John Powell. The late James Horner. Yeah. Passed away a few years ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm. John Williams is great.
John Williams.
Yeah, those are probably my top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can't mention you can't not mention John Williams. It's
I know, if you don't, then yeah.
Yeah, I'm personally. Do you know Raymond Djawadi?
Yes.
Djwadi.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
his like the Game of Thrones music is like
it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. That's the one that goes like his. Do you watch the show?
I don't, but I know the music. It's
Oh yeah,
good.
the best his like dragon music, and he's like da 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 da. Yeah, I listen to that almost every day, so it's very So
it gets you like in the mood to just take on the day.
Yeah, it gets me. It just makes me want to like go like I don't know. This is gonna be really bad to say, but I really want to just like start murdering people with knives. It wants me to go into war.
Well, okay. I have a suggestion for you then. If you like the way that feels, there's an artist, a composer, Thomas Bergerson. Mm-hmm. Okay, and he does like epic music like that. And man, there's some really good stuff out there that he does.
Thomas
Bergerson.
I think you dig.
Yeah, Thomas Bergerson.
Okay,
really epic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'll definitely check him out. So you're currently right now in New Zealand.
Yes, at university here in New Zealand, in Wellington, actually.
And you're from where are you from originally?
I'm from the U.S., from the Eastern Shore of Virginia.
Yeah, that's
really
pretty clear.
Really small. Yeah,
it's pretty clear you're not from New Zealand.
Pretty clear, I would say. I don't think the accents, happened yet, but.
Mm-hmm. Are you how did that happen? How did you get like from Virginia to like New Zealand, like two opposite sides of the world, basically?
It's kind of crazy because in a way it's sort of full circle. When I was, it's cool that you're talking about the way that you feel after listening to like the Game of Thrones music, because when I was a kid, I really loved medieval music, and Narnia and Lord of the Rings were both filmed in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. I was a really big fan of those growing up, and the music, and I was into just creating and writing my own stories and stuff based on medieval sort of eras, and then I would write music based on these ideas and stories, and just later down the road, I had a band with my siblings and everything, and I kind of got away from like writing music instrumentally, and then I came back to it, and this was like, later high school, and I didn't know if I wanted to go to college or not. I was kind of anti-college. I thought it was a little overrated. Mm-hmm. But in New Zealand, you can get a degree in 3 years, and it's pretty neat because it's very concentrated study. In the U.S., you have 4 years for a bachelor, and it's kind of, you have a lot of general studies mixed in there. And I was like, I just want to knock it out. I want to get it done. And then having the opportunity to go to another country that I love so much since I was really young. I mean, in 5th grade, I actually did a project about New Zealand. I got like an autographed picture from the Prime Minister, John Key, when he was in office.
New Zealand?
And, of New Zealand, the Prime Minister, yeah.
How did that happen?
I was a big fan. It was like a kid's, it was a 5th grade, we were doing different countries or something, and I picked New Zealand, obviously. And and I sent like an email to, I guess it was like his office, and his secretary responded and said that she had sent me like an envelope of stuff, and I got like an autographed photograph from Prime Minister. So I've loved the country since I was little, and so the idea of going here, getting a degree in 3 years instead of 4. And then my parents and I were actually looking at the expenses, and to do like a music conservatory in the States. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, it was actually cheaper when all was said and done to do it in New Zealand.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because I take a music theory class, and in my high school, and in every single day in our band class, my band teacher is constantly talking about how a couple of the students want to go to Berkeley.
Yes.
And he constantly talks about, well, is the price worth it?
Yeah.
Is the price?
Yeah.
I mean, was that like considered? Did you consider going to any American music conservatories?
I did. Originally, I was thinking about Berkeley, and I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. And originally, before I sort of picked composing as, where my strength was. Originally I was thinking about like piano performance or whatever. And I just I was like, I just really wasn't down. And then a few years later, end of high school, still researching, and it kind of came together right before I graduated. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So, yeah.
How is the New Zealand education system different from the American education system? Like, what do they require there that you don't require like here? Like, what's sort of the difference?
There's quite a few differences in the like the high school system, because I think they call it differently too. So like we have first grade, second grade, and like they'll have year 1, year 2, year 3, and that's totally thrown off. We have to sit and do math every time I talk to a Kiwi about what age they were at what year in school, because you have to convert it. To convert everything. Because they use metric system here too. Great. So I would say there are some different programs, like I can't totally remember the name, but it's like NCEA or something like that some Kiwis go through in like high school, and that kind of determines where they're accepted at universities and stuff like that.
Did you just say some Kiwis?
Kiwis, yeah.
Where are Kiwis? What's that?
Kiwi. That is a New Zealander. That is the slang term for New Zealander. Yeah.
Okay.
Their bird is the kiwi. They have kiwi fruit, and they're known as Kiwis. It's like
that's
3. Yeah.
That's a fruit, but in America, that's like a fruit, a kiwi.
Yeah, but they have a bird too. The New Zealand bird is the kiwi.
And they call themselves Kiwis.
Kiwis. Yeah.
That's odd.
That's
that...
I don't know. One word for it all. It works.
Yeah. So I'm trying to like go on say Kiwis without laughing. I was like, so
it's okay.
So the Kiwis refer to the.
Oh gosh.
Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, so we're American.
Okay. I hope if there's any New Zealanders listening to this podcast, please don't take offense. It's just we're ignorant Americans. It's the stereotype. It goes with the stereotype. Okay, so I forgot where we were.
We're talking about school systems.
Oh yeah. Okay, there we were.
Yeah, between countries.
Okay, so wait. It's gonna be like an hour trying to like get through this.
Just trying to comprehend. I know.
Just trying to comprehend. So, where did you fall into the? I guess since do they go to college at the same time? Because I know in like Britain, I think they like start college or they end school at like 16. So is that something similar in New Zealand?
No, their school time is different. So like the seasons are different. So they'll start school in like university in like February, March. And then the year ends in February. Ends in November. So you have from like March to November is a typical university school year. But as far as completing high school earlier, it's about the same. I'm going to say 17, 18 years old. There's a lot of students that are at university their first year around that age. So, yeah, not so much older or younger. Was
there any sort of tests that you had to take to specifically go, international?
Just that, like for this university, they had a list of like for whatever country that you're from, because it's really multicultural over here actually, which is really neat. But it's sort of unexpected, I guess, initially. But no, I mean, they had a list for various countries and different requirements that you had. So like for U.S. students, just SAT and high school diploma and stuff along those lines. So, yeah.
Are the schools in terms of, and I know in America, the schools, it's very competitive in America to get into schools. Is it the same type of competition out there than in America, or is it slightly different?
I think with New Zealand, it's not a very big country, and I think there's like, I think Victoria University, the university I'm at, I think it's probably one of the best in the country. But I think that there aren't very many universities, and I think that I guess if students do the certain programs that they have in high school, then it's fairly easy for them to get in. But they do have like different I guess sort of pathways even in high school that you kind of have to stay with, otherwise it gets tricky, I think, once you graduate to get in. Mm-hmm. But I would say it's not too competitive. It's not as prestigious as the US.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Do you this might take away your citizenship to America, if depending on your answer to the next question. Which country based on your experience so far, which country do you think you like better, America or New Zealand?
Oh, well, America's home for me. So, I mean, but New Zealand's beautiful.
Yeah. How often do you go home?
I haven't been home since I've left. I left in February.
Yeah.
So I go back home in a few weeks, and I am so excited. I go back November 4th.
You probably don't go home for like every single vacation.
Oh, no. Other Kiwis will. They'll go home because it's the country is. I mean, like, I could get up to Auckland, which is the northern part of New Zealand, an hour plane flight. Like the country is really small. So they'll go back home during vacations or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. So like which vacations do you go home on? Like which ones?
Summer, which is
summer.
It's going to be New Zealand summer in November, December, which is again hard to comprehend because and I go back home in wintertime, fall time. So
is it do you get confused easily about like the summers? Like
it's weird because I'm going to be in like winter for the next 2 years after this, but
wait, what?
It's okay. Yeah, because
what?
Because I know.
It's like Game of Thrones.
Back.
The
real version.
Yeah, the winters last a lifetime, basically.
Yeah, for me, in my world, it's constant wintertime. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It never gets warm there?
Well, it does, but that's when I leave to go home, and when I go home, it's fall. It's becoming wintertime, so it's just because of the seasonal differences across the world. It's funny.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so anyways, enough about the New Zealand and the Kiwis.
It's great.
Yeah, it is. So what was your let's talk about music. What did you so besides obviously Spirit, how did you what did you start, like where did your music career start?
I want to say again, as a kid, the intrigue of like the piano, and my family was really musical, and my parents had really good taste in music. So like from a really early age, I'm not sure that you'll know these artists, but like I was listening to like Yanni and the Trans-Siberian Orchestra and loving it, and like and Enya and like these artists that are kind of not your typical 6, 7, 8-year-old music, but goodness, like my family was just really into different stuff, and so I was surrounded by a lot of different music and enjoyed a lot of it. And then I started with piano, and then once I actually started learning piano, it sort of like, oh my gosh, I can actually create my own songs and stuff and have some kind of knowledge of what I'm doing. But when I was like 10, 11, 12, whatever, my parents had gotten like the first family Mac, and with GarageBand, and so I would spend like hours and hours just testing it out and trying to create different things. So that's like where it really, really began. And then I started a band with my brother and sister, and we were really serious about that. We actually wanted to make a career out of performing and recording. We did like contemporary Christian music, and we wrote our own stuff. We did covers, and we did like various competitions and talent stuff, and recorded like an EP in Nashville. And I think like it was sort of a crazy experience, but like the first biggest sort of difficult task was producing our debut album. And that was the most incredible like learning experience that I had, because I learned so much in a really short time because I had to. And that kind of made me fall in love with the production side of music, but we were still performing and stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like a few years in the band where I was like, you know what, I felt really, really called and just at home behind a computer with a keyboard and just creating music that way. Because performance, I mean, it's wonderful, but man, it takes so much out of you, you know? Gigging, you know, that often. And it's great to know like when you can see music impact people and and people tell you that and stuff. It's fulfilling, but it can be just really draining. Whereas when I'm just creating, it's total fulfillment, and I'm not like, I don't know, getting so drained that it's hard to keep going, you know?
Yeah. What made you and your family choose Christian rock as a genre?
Yeah, well, it wasn't like we really chose it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, when I was a kid, we would listen to all kinds of things. I mean, what was usually on the radio was country music when I was really little. But then when we were back home, we would play, you know, Enya when my dad got back from work. So it was so varied. But then as we kind of got older, my parents and us, we got, I guess, more mature in our actual faith. And we started listening more to Christian music, and that's where our inspiration came from. My sister, brother, and I, as far as writing music, just kind of naturally came from that. And so we really kind of embraced it and just went out in that industry. But see, what's interesting about the Christian radio stuff is that it's very, very, very competitive, because you have multiple genres in that one stream versus how we have different radio stations for all kinds of genres. So that it takes so much more work in that kind of world, because you have so many different kinds of music and so limited radio play. Yeah. So yeah,
I've always wondered something. How does like Christian rock differentiate from rock? Is it just Christian rock has the word Jesus in it a lot?
I would say no, because it's the context in which the name is used. But no, like I would say the messages, what is the motivation and the actual messages in the music. I think one thing that this world could use more of is just cleaner lyrics and cleaner messages, because we have such I don't know, we've kind of.
Sorry, you cut out for a minute. Cleaner.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, cleaner lyrics and cleaner messages I think this world could use. But with Christian music, it's just, instead of the typical rock, I guess, messages, you have that style of music mixed with lyrics that pertain to Christianity. So that are actually, you know, encouraging and stuff in the faith, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
There's all, I mean, I because, you know, I look around and it seems like every faith has their own type of rock. There's Jewish rock. There's, I said many faiths, but that's the only one I meant.
That's all good.
It's Jewish and then other.
Other, really?
Yeah.
What's the
other
definitive Jewish rock? What is that?
Jewish rock is Jewish rock is very similar to Christian rock, but it displays Jewish messages instead of Christian messages. It's like it's basically in Hebrew. I don't know. I can give you a good example. I don't know if it's actually rock, but it's more of a pop rock pop. It's a song. It's called Golden Boy by I forget the guy's name. I forget the guy's name, but it goes like, it's sort of like the same, because I've listened to Christian rock in Chick-fil-A in the South. Um,
Yeah.
that's just coincidentally where it is. I don't know. That's very.
No, that sounds like where I'm from.
Jesus going down tonight. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation of Christian rock.
Oh my.
What's an example of like the lyrics of Christian rock? Somebody who actually has played Christian rock and not just making fun of it.
Well, I mean, it depends on, I guess, what kind of, like, how heavy the rock is. But like one band that I could recommend would be Skillet. Like because to your ear, they don't sound like, you can't really tell that they're, Christian, rock. But then because the style, the genre, it's pretty awesome. The music just sounds awesome. And then when you listen to the lyrics, you're like, oh, I see. They're talking about God here. They're encouraging, hope in Christ there, that kind of thing. So, it's kind of interesting though, Andrew, because I feel like one thing that's kind of been happening is there's been more stereotypical messages and less personal messages in music. So I would actually like to see more lyrics pertaining to people's hardships and encouraging them that way instead of just kind of cliche messages. I can't really think of any on top of my head to give you, but there are cliches, and that's kind of a turn off to me, as a Christian. So
I feel like I mean, I'm an atheist, so it's kind of hard to listen to Christian rock and been like, it's a nice beat, and then you hear the lyrics, and I'm like, well,
yeah.
It's a nice beat, and then my parents are Jewish, so then you can't play Christian rock in the car because then you're like, Andrew, turn this off, and then they're like, but it has a nice beat, you can't do that. But I mean, everybody says that argument that like every single all the songs today are like trash. Do you sort of find something? Do you sort of understand why do you think that is? Like that whole stereotype?
Yeah, I think I don't want to say that all music out today is trash, but there's definitely a cheapening, I think, of art that's happened because people, the studios and the labels and the artists, they are doing what they do to make money. They have to live off what they're doing. And I think they found formulas in the ways music sounds or the lyrics that they use, and they kind of stick to those formulas and they don't really expand or try different things, which is why sometimes listening to indie bands and stuff can be so much cooler because there's things that just aren't done that studios and labels have to restrict.
Yeah.
So I think there's sort of a cheapening because people are kind of doing the same thing all the time. I mean, you can hear the same chords in pretty much every pop song.
Yeah.
But people still buy the music. People still. So, do you know what I mean? It's kind of
yeah. I was thinking about, you were saying before, how like a lot of music today has very similar themes, and they all follow along the same theme, and I just you can definitely see that. Most pop songs by a guy are about a girl the guy likes.
Sure.
Is essentially, you could find if you look, that's how basically most of them can be interpreted. And what I think a problem is, and another big problem is like, I don't think enough musicians use instruments. I think too many musicians and artists rely so much on computers and the computerized instruments, and it doesn't really feel genuine anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's a way to achieve balance with that, because I think oh my goodness, I'm so grateful for technology when it works.
Yeah.
Because it can be so inventive, and when it's used and explored, you can create so many amazing things with it. but you can also rely on it to just kind of get the job done, you know? And honestly, even with instruments, if you're not sort of expanding your own ability and testing out new things, then you're going to get stuck with the same old. So I just feel like there's been less sort of exploration and just sticking with the status quo because it works, you know, because it's paid the bills before. So
what do you want to do in your music to try to innovate on that, to try to change that?
I'm really all about telling stories with music and expressing just genuine emotions, really moving people. So however I can achieve that in the best way possible, that's kind of what my goal is, to really move people with music. Instrumental and not, you know, I think it can be done with both. So
Okay, so you were in a Christian rock band.
Yes.
Then you transferred to making your own music. How did you go from that to, you know, making music for films? Or did you make music for a different medium before that? Or was it just, how did it transfer?
I didn't. I fell in love with the production side of music. And I didn't really know that was a love until I started trying things out on my own, like in addition to the band. So like we were homeschooled for a period of time. After like, I don't know, I remember like after getting some schoolwork done or whatever, I would work on just some song ideas that I had. And I just remember feeling like so at home and so like just loving it, just loving creating sounds, creating the melodies, creating a piece right in front of me, and more discontent and sort of unhappy with gigging and just feeling sort of drained from that. And I think my parents and my siblings, like everyone could kind of tell that the band was just becoming more of a struggle and not as embraced as it once was. And so I remember sitting down with my dad. It was, we were having breakfast somewhere or whatever. And I was sort of, my eyes, I think, were really, really, really excited. And I was talking to him about something about Hans Zimmer or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, "This is what you want to do, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, let's do it. Let's, you know, go for it." And so it was kind of like I needed that permission because I think it's hard when you're working with your family because, you know, you have like your family relationships and, you know, my sister and my brother, you know, we're so close as a family unit. But then when you're working and you're practicing rigorously and you're challenging each other to get better, it can also be really taxing. And there's a part of me, I think, that felt really obligated to try to, you know, push the band as far as it could go. And I think it was really cool that we were like, hey, you know, if it's not where I'm supposed to be, it's not where I'm supposed to be, and that's okay. So it ended up being a really smooth transition from there. I just started researching different techniques for film scoring, different short films to practice with and whatever, and then just reach out to other people from there. So.
And so did you ever take a class in high school about sort of music composing, or was this all sort of self-taught?
Oh, everything up until university and excluding piano lessons was self-taught. Goodness. Thank God for YouTube. Because, yeah, tutorials, man. Tutorials saved my life.
And it looks like you have a very big professional setup.
Well, yeah, actually, this is the small setup because I'm in my dorm room at university. But yeah I've got like MIDI controller, keyboard, and my interface and microphone. I brought stuff from home to New Zealand, but I've been really bummed out because my speakers, my stereo monitors that I use to mix with and stuff, I had to leave behind. Can't really mix, you know, in a dorm room next to other people. Could be a little bit disturbing.
Are you still able to work on scores from New Zealand?
Yes, but it's just all headphone based and stuff like that. So yeah, but otherwise, yeah.
So like, how did you even like that keyboard over there? How are you able to like get that to New Zealand?
So this isn't as big as it might look on your screen. But
Yeah.
it's there's like a hard case, and it was just an additional luggage thing that I added on the plane.
Mm-hmm. Like people
But
bring their guitars
yeah.
all the time on planes.
Yeah, I did not carry this on with me.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, because oh my goodness, that was crazy. Getting from the U.S. to New Zealand. Yeah, somehow the luggage kept up with us, and I don't really know how that happened, but it did. Because we had like one really late, delayed flight, and then one plane ended up leaving late, even though it was supposed to like leave. We were supposed to miss one plane. We ended up catching it, and somehow our luggage kept up, which was, unexpected, but it worked.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And like, I imagine, the time change is huge, correct?
It is, yeah.
How was getting used to that originally?
It wasn't. I think something must have worked really well on the big plane flight from like California to Auckland, because that was a 12-hour flight. So I don't know if maybe sleeping on that flight helped transition, because it wasn't as rough as I thought it was going to be. But like my dad and he came with me for the first couple weeks I was here. We would get up a little bit earlier than what we intended.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, it wasn't.
But you got used to it eventually.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And going back to America, that's gonna be
interesting. Yeah.
That's gonna be hell. That's gonna be like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be so excited though to just see my family and friends again. That it's I'll have so much adrenaline. I won't even.
How long has it been since you've seen your family?
It's almost been 8 months.
Wow.
8 months since I got to see my sister and my dad, both in July, and I got to see my sister studying in Australia.
Oh wow!
So I got to see, yeah.
Everybody's leaving.
I know. Everybody's leaving home thousands of miles away. Yeah, we're not. We have this thing in the Boothe household. We say, go.
Can you say again?
Go home.
Can you say again? Sorry,
Us going big.
Yeah, can you say it again? Actually, sorry, because for the podcast listeners, if you can't hear that, I think it's because New Zealand, it might affect the connection slightly.
Oh yeah. We are thousands of miles away. So
I might have to ask you to repeat a few things. So what did you just say? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good. I was talking about my family.
And the Boothe family.
The Boothes. Yeah, we have a phrase: "Go big or go home," and I think my sister and I are just going big. That's all.
It has anything, and does this have anything to do with the current political situation?
No, not at all.
It wasn't
not
just.
At all.
It's just a coincidence that Trump
Just
becomes president, then you guys leave the country.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with Trump. Nothing to do with Trump.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of because that's kind of a coincidence, right? I mean, you got out before things got bad.
Yeah, I think. Oh my goodness. I mean, yeah. Actually, yeah. It was coincidental.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidental. Yeah.
I mean, do you get the new U.S. news there?
Yes. It was kind of funny though, because when I first got here, like all I got asked was about Trump, because it's really interesting, because living in a different country, you get to sort of see America through other people's eyes.
Yeah.
And
is it well
people
in New Zealand?
Well, I think it's been good, because I think I've been able to sort of help break stereotypes that people have thought of. Negative ones. And I think that I don't know, I think America, man, it's amazing how powerful the country is and how much it affects everyone. I mean, I think sometimes we don't realize that everybody in the world really is watching us. And in talking with people, that's really hit me this year, is just, oh my goodness, everybody else really does care what happens to our country and politics and stuff. And I don't, pay attention to as much as I should, in the rest of the world, but my goodness, people pay attention to America, and it's really enlightening. So,
but you do get the.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you get to see the? I don't know. It's been really funny is the SNL impressions of Trump.
Oh,
I don't know if you've been.
I haven't seen too many of them, but
you gotta. Alec Baldwin is Trump. That's wow. That's gotta be entertaining. It was, and I don't know if you were there for this. Larry David as Bernie Sanders.
Really?
Larry, and it was like the best impression. And it is like he comes on stage, and I guess this is I'm very happy. I'm able to give you the pop culture news from America. This is, and it was funny. He comes on the stage and the guy is like, "How are you doing, Larry? How are you doing, Bernie?" He's like, "I'm all right. I'm hungry, but I'm all right. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna turn it right up to a 10." He's like, Bernie, control yourself. Bernie's like, and he's like, okay. Then he goes, "We're doomed, everybody. We're doomed." And then he's just, oh my god. If you can see,
I will. I'll definitely look that up.
Definitely look that up. So, do you what else? What other instruments do you play besides piano?
Mainly piano. I've done a little bit of drums. I respect greatly all guitarists and string players because I have tried. I'll tell myself, Jack, you should really learn how to play guitar. It's just such a, good instrument to learn. I pick it up and I put it back down because no. Kudos to all guitar players. Just they're amazing.
I pick out on guitar sometimes, and it's actually if you don't play for a while, you lose it.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still.
Mm-hmm. No, it's also hard, and who doesn't get enough credit are trumpet players.
Oh, I know. My dad was a trumpet player, and
yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's something that you really can't. You can't take a break from that, and like with piano and even with guitar, there's that muscle memory that can kind of kick in, and with trumpet, you have to keep your chops up. You're amateur, otherwise just yeah.
I said that because I play trumpet and nobody cares.
Oh, you're not overlooked.
I wasn't. It came from like a third. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't coming from like a third party and been like, it doesn't get enough trumpet. Those trumpet players, right? I didn't want to. Yeah, it is kind of. I was a biased opinion, I have to admit.
Okay, glad we cleared that up. But yeah, I hear you on that. Yeah.
And so, let's talk about some of the movies you have composed. You've done. It seems looked on your site. It says you've done 4 short films, correct?
Something like that. Yeah, this is gonna be funny. I'm gonna have to think about what I've done. Oh man. Yeah,
I wrote them down if you need a reminder.
Oh yeah, that would.
Let's To the Last Man.
Okay, yeah, that was for a competition. Yeah.
Okay. And Orange, Orphan Courage.
Yeah, that's a 30-minute short film actually. It's on DVD now.
The Master's Story.
Okay, so that is like a trailer for different projects that I've worked on with this company. The company's called SC Treehouse. And they'll do web series and short films and stuff like that. And I'm kind of one of their composers that will work with them on different things. Okay, so they're so you're kind of like a regular with them? Yeah. Mm-hmm. How'd they discover you? How'd you just... So I think one of the hardest and the most important things about being a composer, being anybody in the industry, is networking. And so I think a lot of the work I do on my own in my own time when I have it, and that's just sort of researching different people and stuff like that. And I think they were calling for applications, and I discovered that somewhere, and then I reached out to them, and yeah, that's how that happened. Mm-hmm. You gave them a sample? Yes, and because I was working on Orphan Courage at that time, and I did before I sort of was officially on the project, I did a demo song of different themes for Orphan Courage, and just had different for different scenes and different parts of the script that I was given. I had wrote different things, and so I sent that to them actually, and then I think one of the short films that I had done. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know me. The way I discovered you
was because you had done work on a TV show that I worked on called Artless.
Artless? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gabriel Fowler. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
I listened. I remember there was something that you did that I really liked. I don't know if it was a theme for Artless. It was in the very beginning. It was like, I think it's going to be like a couple years ago now. Last April, or like two Aprils ago or something. And
it was a while ago.
It's this theme I like really, really liked. I don't remember it now.
Yeah, it was Gabriel actually, he asked me to do a theme song, and then he also asked me to write, or if I was interested in writing an original song. So what happened was I did both, and I had different theme ideas whenever, but he actually dug the original song so much that he used an instrumental part of the original song for the theme.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
What was the original? Do you remember what the original song called? Because I think I really liked the original song. It was called
"We" actually, and it was just.
Oh, I remember it.
Struggles. Yeah.
I remember it was we. Da 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 da. I remember that now. Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, so that was written for Artless. Yeah.
That was a great song. Who did that? Was that you who did the?
Yeah, that was the vocal. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Did you do the vocals for your Christian rock band?
Yeah, we would take turns on leading different songs, but yeah, I would do lead vocals sometimes, and we'd also do a lot of harmony. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there wasn't really like a lead singer, essentially.
Well, I would say it started off sort of being my brother, but then Leah, my sister, the one who's actually studying in Australia, she kind of became the lead, I would say. But we would still alternate a little bit, just for variation.
Mm-hmm. And what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Now that I have a really bad interviewing style where I ask one question, then I go in a completely different direction.
That's totally okay.
So now that you've lived in, I guess, both New Zealand and America, where do you think you would work in?
Well, I'm saying, and I'm planning right now, to go to California and work there, but you never really know. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But the thing is, in Wellington,
yeah,
stereotypical. Well, yeah, that's where it all happens, supposedly. But I will say that the movie industry in Wellington is really quite a big deal, and I've actually gotten a chance to see facilities where Peter Jackson's worked on different movies.
Oh, that's what I wanted. Yeah. That's what I asked you about. Like, how is that? Like, how big of a deal do they make out of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit down there?
Well, I wouldn't say that locals make a big deal out of it, but I would say that the movie industry has really become a big deal because of it. And so there's a section in Wellington called Miramar where Peter Jackson kind of has bought out this entire place, basically. And Victoria University has recently partnered with Parker Post-Production, which is a sound and music facility, sort of, that's worked with Peter Jackson. And they've created a facility for students and postgraduates to work like right around the area where Peter Jackson is. I think it's like right next door to a building he's recently bought for something. Like, we don't know what it's going to be, but yeah. So it's really, the film industry and the university are sort of really becoming connected. And this is a recent thing, which has been really, really cool to see. So,
did you ever get to go on any of the tours?
I haven't been on a tour because I got to just go in, and some of the postgraduates actually were having like short films sort of mastered or mixed or whatever in Park Road Post, and I got to tag along and see that happen in like these. I mean, gosh, the mixing suites and stuff are huge, and they're basically movie theaters, inside this place, and it's, oh my gosh, so cool.
Yeah. It sounds, sounds like everything is going well for you. Do you think things are going well for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think though the intimidating part is just, as it always is, but just going out there and getting the gigs, for composing and networking with the right people, that'll help sort of get you on the right track, for the rest of the career. So that's sort of the, where I'm in the back of my mind, sort of the thing that I'm targeting the most with, this whole experience and when I'm back in the States and stuff.
Well, I wish you luck in the future. And
thank you so much.
You sound like you will be very, very successful. You seem like you have a very big drive. And
hey.
Yeah. So thank you very much for talking with me.
Hey, thanks, Andrew, so much for having me. It's been a really good conversation. Thank you.
Same here.